Hi everyone, Milflora here. Welcome back to another video. Today is watercolor, specifically a watercolor speed paint, which I was very excited to make. This was so fun to do because I feel like it came out very funky looking, very like futuristic, almost like apocalyptic with the colors that I ended up using for this, and it was so fun. Honestly, I would say my inspiration for this piece had to definitely come from like the Blade Runner movies. Like the cinematography of them was just incredible to me and gave me so much inspiration. That, and I would say I get a lot of my inspiration from like Pinterest, like a lot of artists, of course. But honestly, most of the time, I really love the control that I have with the medium watercolor, just because like I can't really get into like gouache as much as I would love to, just because I don't know, just me and gouache are not friends. But as you can see, they really create these like smooth gradients with watercolor. Like I love how the pinks and the blues complement each other with this. I really always try to like keep a balance between the light areas and like the slightly darker ones, because it's like if I'm putting pink next to blue, I really don't want it to make purple sometimes, so I try my best not to do that unless I'm like adding in purple later on, And I really love to like slowly build up some depth in these pieces, but I wanted to like still stay light in the process, if that makes sense. But it's like I wanted to have like so much depth, so much detail, especially if it's like a sky that I'm like doing in an abstract kind of way. But as you can see, it's like I'm working in layers and I'm adding in a little bit at a time. That way it like will stay soft in some areas and won't get too heavy in some places like too quickly, until I'm of course ready to do that with like different details. And like I can be so impatient with like the drying times before going back in. Honestly, there was like one moment that I like took a step back and I tried to see like what kind of colors do I want to add to this piece once I've like finished laying down all of the blue that I'm putting down now. And I'm like, I don't know, I really wanted it to pop and obviously really match that cinematography and aesthetic of Blade Runner. So I was like, maybe I'll add in some yellows or oranges, probably some like really neon green. But my favorite part of like this whole process has to be when I'm like laying down like the little, I guess you could call them like stipples that I just did just there, of like the little blue parts. I don't know what I would call them really, but it's like that's like so satisfying to me. I don't know why. Ooh, and there are some times that I want to like, sometimes I consider making a sketch first of like what I'm gonna do with watercolor. But then I'm like, I don't know, I do find it turns out better, like the end result, when I don't sketch first. Like, say I was doing a mountainscape or something. If I did the mountainscape first, I sometimes get so carried away that I don't even focus on what I was doing in the first place. But that's okay, because I guess if every artist is just happy with what they made in the end result of that painting or piece, then that's all that really matters. If you're happy as an artist with what you've made by the end of it, then that's all. Okay, so now going back to what I was mentioning earlier, you can now see when I like finally realized, okay, I'm gonna add in the greens and stuff. Like this was like a pretty vibrant neon green. I was like, oh my god, is this gonna turn like brown? I was so worried about that, because like I did not want that to happen, because then of course I would turn all muddy. Then I would be like, oh my god, I messed up this painting. But thankfully I think that the bottom layers dried fast enough that didn't happen. There was a point in this whole process, like at this part of the painting, I was going to consider doing like, I don't know, like stars, or like adding in some gold accents with like acrylic marker. But I realized like maybe this would just stay as like a sunset kind of sky or landscape, versus like, because I always tend to do that, is like go for like a night sky or like stars. But I thankfully didn't with this. I just kept it as is. And that was all for this painting. Thanks, guys. Bye.